Esto solo empieza. Mueve la cabeza. Lanza tu duro. La mano arriba.
Welcome, Jedi Council, to the second podcast of 2016, and what a fun season it's already been.
We got Let's Ezekiel and Melvin and the Chipmunks.
Melvin and the Chipmunks, both very creative names. There's still a couple guys in our league who could learn from that. Missing a few changes, but we just had a couple more updated. Thank you, Underwood and Roston, for changing the name.
Love the names.
Love the names.
Morning Woodhead and Crows before Hose.
Crows before Hose.
So true.
Couple more guys, and we will all be there with the new names. Starting things off, sorry guys, we haven't had the Super Smash Bros. Intro yet. We were a little rushed for time tonight, so we decided to cut that part out, but it is coming.
We do this for you, and if we included that Super Smash Bros. Part, we wouldn't have your video out to you tonight.
Could not agree more. Starting off, I think we have news and notes from around the league. Not a whole lot happened in this first week of fantasy. I think the biggest thing, obviously, is that Keenan Allen season-ending injury.
That man cannot stay healthy. It's a shame because he's a great kid, great player.
It really is. He wrote a letter to the team saying he's going to come back even stronger, not to worry about him. We love his attitude. It's just a shame to see him go down 2 years in a row because he's got that Antonio Brown potential.
He definitely does, especially with Felipe Rios throwing to him.
Yep.
We'll see how Tyrell
Williams, I think.
We'll see how he steps up.
Yeah,
or maybe it's going to be Benjamin.
Or Benjamin. I think we'll see a lot more from Woodhead and a lot more from Antonio Gates as well.
Moving on, we saw that Russ tweaked his ankle.
Yeah, a little scary for Underwood, seeing that was his third draft pick, fourth draft pick maybe, and not much quarterback on the waiver wire. If he's not playing, it's going to be a tough run for him.
Yeah, I know, and this I think he is going to play.
I agree.
He may be limited though, and his mobility is his moneymaker.
Exactly.
I don't know if I'd start him this week.
Yeah, it'd be rough. We know he likes to drop back 20 yards and is mobile. That's why he's good. And if he's not able to do that, I see a lot of sacks coming, and I see a big drop off the Seahawks.
Yep.
So, in other news, we have the Patriots looking like they're still the best team in the league, even without Tom Brady and Gronkowski.
They replaced their stud, handsome quarterback with another stud, handsome quarterback.
Not as handsome, but still handsome. And he looked great. I mean, he played within himself, and
Edelman owners have nothing to worry about.
Nope.
I'm sure when Gronk returns, his owners will have nothing to worry about. We don't know if Gronk will return.
Yeah, this week is another question mark. It's a rough first-round pick for he who has the worst haircut in the league. As we mentioned in the post, just so you guys can understand that, bit of a roast. You don't change your team name, you are not referred to as who you are in this league, and we will come up with some way to dub a new nickname. So,
so Gronk may be out. Also, Jamal Charles may be out, which means that Spencer Ware has a massive increase in value.
Could not agree more. That's another big play for a team who has no name. Other news, I think we saw a lot more players taking a knee, even on 9/11 this year, protesting that national anthem.
See, if they were my players and they were in my starting lineup, I saw them do that, I'd move them to the bench. Just out of respect for our country.
Especially on a day like 9/11. I mean, we have had, that's probably the most traumatic day, I think, in U.S. history. And, you know, there are other ways to protest the inequality, the racism. I just don't think that's the right way. You know, I think it started with a guy who, ignore.
That's Underwood, who's supposed to be our guest tonight, and I'm going to ignore him.
Once again, he can't be on time, show up, and be punctual. But yeah, back to it. I think that whole protesting thing really started because Colin Kaepernick realized he is a nobody in the NFL, and he wanted to become a somebody again.
I mean, you could put it that way, but again, it always goes back to the argument where it is his right.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's about it for the news and notes. Not too much happened. I think we're going to just jump into a little bit of a league update.
And when we say league, we mean Jedi Council, not National Football League.
The Jedi Council, the one and only. First thing is the new waiver format. You like it, you dislike it, you indifferent.
I'm learning, as most of you probably already saw, I bid on somebody and dropped them. Essentially just pissing away $2.
Yeah.
But hey, I was active in the waiver system, and not everybody was.
I completely agree.
Even if you're bidding $0, you might as well put in a claim.
Yeah, you might as well try. I lost out on a few guys I wanted that I bid $0 on. So it's very fickle. You don't know what the opposing teams are going to do. You don't know what you should bid. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how I feel yet, but it's definitely a new factor that we must consider in this league. Definitely requires a lot more thought. So,
and then we also I think John already touched on this, but names.
Mm-hmm. There's some great ones. As I said, we're still missing 2 people. Talked with one today who didn't know that this was a rule, so I expect him to be on top of it and getting it changed before week 1 truly starts on Sunday. I know we got a game going on now. But we'll give him a little leeway for now, seeing as he didn't understand it. The other one did respond to the post, so he's just being stubborn.
Yeah, he's going to continue to get roasted throughout the season of Spock and Dron on air.
I mean, it's easy to roast a guy who has such a poor draft year in and year out. He definitely doesn't make things difficult for us. And when you get a haircut like his, I mean, whew.
Oh my goodness, he's a daddy boy.
Moving on, we just wanted to, going on with names, we kind of wanted to throw out a few names we individually like a lot. Personally, my favorite this year is simply Aditya's. I think that shows a lot of creativity. It's something we haven't seen ever in this league before, just a simple, hey, my name's dope, I'm confident in it, I'm going to make it that. I appreciate that. I really liked it.
I definitely agree. I did not see that name coming from him, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
What name do I like this year? I like Morning Woodhead. Honestly, I think it's a double entendre.
It is.
Because you can have Morning Wood, or you can have Morning Head, or Morning Woodhead, like that little gym rat on his team.
He's going to be a good play. I am very high on him. I tried to trade for him, and actually, Morning Woodhead freaked out on me.
Well, that's your fault. His value is at an all-time high right now. Wait till he has one of those 3-point games.
Exactly. And then, knowing that owner, he'll be as down on him as possible. But anyways, last thing to note in the league is this is what I believe the very first time our one and only commissioner, Crows Before Hose, has been sitting in the 12th place spot. Crazy. His team did not perform at all. And, as embarrassing as it is that he's there right now, being a player with such caliber in our league, there's something to be said that it's his first spot. It's his first time there ever.
Yeah, but it is just, he put up a terrible performance week 1.
Yep.
And he claims to be one of the best, and you can't have those kind of performances. What did he get blown? What did he get blown out by? 60 points?
Yeah, by a big, big effort from a team who has no name. It's a bummer, but I have confidence he'll recover. Shall we move on to our main part of the show, being the draft recap? I know it's a little late and we've seen week 1, guys, but we think it's important that we cover the draft, what we liked, what we didn't like.
And you guys have been asking for it.
We definitely have.
And what you ask for, we bring.
We bring. We've said before, recommendations, what you guys want to see. I know we hear a lot shorter shows from all of you, but we got to get everything in there. We're trying our best, but there's a lot to cover. So, yeah, moving on, draft recap. A lot of good, a lot of bad. I think it's safe to say league members have created habits over the years, and they fall back into those habits, whether they're good or bad, as we draft. An example of that is that very first pick. I think he may have been 11th. He with the bad haircut. Taking Gronkowski at number 11. It just shows lack of studying, lack of consideration, I think.
Yeah, especially with the question marks that he had at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take him with your first overall pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not agree more. But we will jump into who we don't like draft-wise first. We're going to jump into our 3 favorite rosters right now, who we think based on these rosters, will end up at the top of the league, barring, obviously, Spock and myself. We both agree that we have probably at least 2 of the top 4 teams in this league based on the immediate draft.
Yeah, I think what we notice about our own teams is our benches are deep.
Very deep. There's a lot of potential with them. And that's the issue I'm having this week with starting is I don't know who to put in the flex. I don't know necessarily who to be my RB2 because there is just so much depth and, so much potential.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce our very favorite team, again, barring ourselves, post-draft. We were in between 2 who we thought were very high.
We had 2 consensus top 2 teams that they came out to play on draft day.
They sure did. I think we'll start with the one and only Old Legs and Crab Legs, otherwise known as Papa Lobo, otherwise known as Colin Wolfe. He has been down in years past, guys, and I think we all know that, but he came to draft this year. We're looking at it right now, and already Matt Forte has 2 touchdowns, 64 yards, putting up 20 points in the Thursday night game. I think it was a great sleeper pick for him. He got him late.
Yeah. He's just Mr. Dependable.
Exactly. The Cam Newton pick, I think, is great. He may not be number 1 this year, but he's solid. He's week in, week out. His receiving core, his running back core,
he plays on a good team, and that helps a lot when you have a quarterback who's gonna win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then wide receivers, Julio, Edelman. It's probably one of the best duos in the league.
Yeah, you definitely can't argue that. He's missing depth at that receiver spot, but I think it's something he could find later in the season. Greg Olsen, always solid. He's got Theo. Jameis Winston, a great sleeper backup. I think he's going to have a great year. But overall, I think, one of the more solid teams.
He's one of the guys that I'm going to be scared to play.
Unlike he with a bad haircut. Next team, I think we both agreed on Morning Woodhead as well. And we're trying to balance the very post-draft versus what happened week 1, and we're taking both into account. So the whole Russell Wilson thing, we're going to see how that plays out. But it's just turning into a solid team.
Yeah, I don't see any glaring holes on his roster. The Jordan Matthews pick looks like it's going to pan out for him. He's the only guy in Philly that Carson's throwing the ball to.
Right.
And then looking at his receivers, his running backs, he has 2 WR1s, and then his running backs are nothing to complain about.
Yeah. You saw what Doug Martin did last year. I think he's very capable of doing it again this year. You saw what Danny Woodhead did until the end of the season last year, especially when Keenan Allen was out, so that's going to be big for him again. Jeremy Hill, a good sleeper pick. I think there's a lot that could go on there in Cincinnati. He definitely has the deeper bench between him and Colin, outside that Alfred Morris thing. But I guess when you want to handcuff, you want to handcuff.
Yep, but I'm also looking forward to seeing his team choke in the playoffs like he has done the past. Mm-hmm. I don't know, heck, as long as I've been in the league, this guy's been choking.
Yeah, he most definitely has. But yeah, we like the team. We're proud of it. For the third, Spock and I actually, we differ a bit. We couldn't necessarily decide, and we both see the benefits and the negatives of each team. But I actually had... we actually technically need to roast him because he hasn't changed his name, don't we?
What can we say about him?
I'm not thinking quick enough. But we did give him a bye because he didn't know the rules. So we'll stick with the most recent champion, the usual letdown, Jay Derulo Glover. It's good. And his running backs, Jennings, I think, could be huge. Adrian Peterson won't let up a goose egg like last week again. Jamal Charles, a bunch of potential. It's tough to argue with that running back core. Obviously, there's some question marks, but it's safe. His receivers, Eric Decker is someone I've been chasing. I've been asking Jay what he wants for him. I love him. I think he's solid. He's consistent. Alshon Jeffrey had a big game last week. He's going to continue to be that target for Jay Cutler. Deshaun Jackson, pretty hit or miss, but a good pick. Matt Ryan, Philip Rivers. I mean, Tyler Eifert, Eric Ebron. It's just a solid squad. And the more I talk about it, the more I think we should have put him above maybe an Underwood and a Pavlova.
See, my problem with his team is he's not going to have consistent quarterback play because you're not going to find that with Matt Ryan. And Philip Rivers missing his key guy, I don't see it. And then I see a running back core that they look good at first appearance, but could this be the year that AP has finally fallen off the cliff?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Rashad Jennings, he is also pretty old. He doesn't have really anybody to back him up. Maybe Darkwa.
Shane Vereen. I mean, they cut. What was it? Andre Williams. Just a few weeks ago. So yeah, it's his backfield, but definitely a lot of question marks. I see where you're coming from.
And Alshon has an injury history.
Yep.
And I'm not seeing anybody that can step up for him if Alshon goes down.
That's fair. I definitely see both sides of it.
That's why on my power board I have Crows Before Hoes as our last team who nailed their draft. Just looking at his squad, Lamar Miller was a great pick. We saw that they're just going to keep feeding him the ball. And he's a talented back, and that's the recipe for success. Volume plus talent is going to get you points.
Equals production, man. I mean, there's not many things more simple than that.
Mm-hmm. And Brandon Marshall, he's consistent, balls out.
Got 100 yards right now in the game going on. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Larry Fitzgerald is showing no sign of slowing down despite his old age.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey is a consensus top 3 tight end every week. Demarius, I am concerned about him, but we've seen what he can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, his bench has some depth to it as well. There's some potential, I'd say, with it. A lot of guys that maybe aren't going to be guaranteed, but if they do start hitting their stride, they're going to be good. They're going to be startable week in, week out. A couple issues with that. Right off the bat, you can see him playing Kirk Cousins after not too great of a week last week over Tyrod Taylor. There's a reason the Bills signed Tyrod to a long-term, high-end contract. There's a reason Tyrod has 204 yards and 2 touchdowns right now. And so my biggest qualm with this would be the actual manager himself. I see him making a lot of iffy decisions down the road. I think he's lost a bit of his mojo, if you will, in fantasy with the whole marriage coming up. We touched on this a little bit last week. The new job, buying a house. I think there's a lot more going on in his brain. Outside of that, back to the bench, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. There's a lot of ifs.
There is a lot of ifs.
What if they don't work out? And, it's a high ceiling and it's a low floor. So if you have too many of those players hit the floor, you're going to be struggling in that period of bye weeks.
And only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Moving on, so those are our top teams, guys. Again, Spock and I consider our teams to be some of the greatest. We're tempted to touch on it if we have time at the end. Maybe we will. But we're going to move into the 3 who we think had the poorest performance in the draft. You want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. And this team, when we were talking about this team jumped right out at us. It
was, I think we synchronized in saying who had the worst draft, who's going to be the worst by the end of the year, and we said it together.
And it's also the guy with the worst hair.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad. He continues to talk about how he can't get a good haircut at Jude's, and yet he continues to just go to Jude's.
And he'll try to fix it, and it just makes him look like more of an idiot.
I'm sure we'll get a text complaining about our podcast later this week from he with a bad haircut. Anyways, moving on to that team. It's rough, man.
We talked about Gronkowski as your first round pick. He currently has him in his lineup. I honestly think he's just going to sit out until Tom Brady comes back. Right. We've seen they beat one of the best teams in the league without Tom and Gronk. So why would they risk?
Why risk it? And if they do, it's going to be limited. He's going to not. Maybe 40% of the snaps, in my opinion. Outside of that, holy cow, Dez Bryant. With so many players left on the board, and you take Dez Bryant without Tony Romo. Des Bryant's, I was reading an article, Des Bryant's production is cut nearly in half. His fantasy points per play goes from like .268 down to .54 or something like that. And
like we saw Cole Beasley outplay Dez.
And Jason Witten. I mean,
and like Cole Beasley is like one of the biggest scrubs in the league.
It's disheartening. I mean, to see this lack of commitment, this lack of thought in this league right now. And Carlos Hyde, sure, he had a big game against the worst team in the league, but
he did that for his first game last year too.
All you have to do is talk to the great Bandino. I'm struggling tonight. About what a shit player he is. I mean, he had him last year. He was super high on him, and no. The 49ers suck.
Is that simple.
And then,
I mean, Langford gets the volume, but I question his talent. Like,
right,
he could go 20 carries for 40 yards very easily.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I'm fine with where he got him. I think I would have done the same thing, but it's just and then you go to the bench, man.
And Quan, who is not fantasy relevant at all. He's a veteran. He's a leader. He's there to kind of coach the younger guys. Why? He's not even rosterable.
He'll get 4 touchdowns throughout the season, maybe 400 yards. I mean, you're not going to play him. Tim Hightower. I get that they got C.J. Spiller, but what?
As a non-Mark Ingram owner, you own what? Like one of the 10th best handcuff in the league? Like, why?
Yeah.
I could see if it was like a Spencer Ware or D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah. It makes sense. Or maybe even a Derrick Henry or a Darren Sproles. I mean, those things make sense. And then, this past week, he decided to pick up Vance McDonald to cover for Gronkowski. You know who else was on the wire, Spock? You know who else was on the wire?
Jason Witten.
What's his first name? Doyle from the Colts.
Doyle plays for the Giants.
No, Doyle had 2 touchdowns for the Colts alongside Dwayne Allen.
Oh, yeah. He has the farmer's stand, doesn't he? I feel like it's weird.
Regardless. I mean, the decisions. Martellus Bennett was on there until I picked him up. I have no business picking.
Well, yeah.
Mike Wallace had a good game. I'll give you that.
We knew Martellus was going to be primarily a blocking tight end. I think
because they're missing 3 O-lines. I think there's potential.
If
you look back to the era
that was on you.
And
Gronkowski
days. I didn't know. I didn't do my research. I didn't know. But regardless, I want to know you're 0-1. Moving on to the next team before we make him cry while watching this podcast, because rightfully so, that team has been ripped apart. Our next consensus, I think, was he actually is my favorite team name, but nonetheless, it was another rough go. He's auto-drafted the past few years. It's worked out. It's worked out. I think he's won a championship on an auto-draft, but this year, boned him. I mean, just straight boned him. You see Aaron Rodgers, you see A.J. Green, and that's about the only guaranteed production you have on this team.
You have Floyd, who he looks good,
right.
But you can't count on him. Yeah. You can't count on him week in and week out.
There's 3 dependable receivers. You never know who's going to get the production game in, game out.
Right. Barnage we saw put up a donut, and I know he has McCown back.
Which could make a difference. I'll give you that. I'll give him that. Barnage was big with McCown last year.
Yeah, and I don't know. A donut.
A real big
I would have trouble starting a guy after he puts up a donut.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give you your receiving core. Jarvis Landry, A.J. Green, 2 good plays. I've got question marks about Jarvis just because it's Miami. They can't seem to get better. They just kind of almost get stuck in that quicksand down at the wetlands. What's that giant place called? The big old...
The Everglades.
The Everglades, thank you. And then, Gio Bernard, you've got your RB1 basically right now, splitting time with Jeremy Hill. Great, he's a great pass-catching back, but not much more than that. Devonta Freeman, we all knew he was going to be it. I predicted it from day one.
Everybody was saying that. If you picked him in your top 20... He's going to bust. If you picked him in the top 20, that's on you. When you're sitting there at 2-4, 1-5, wondering where your draft went wrong, I'll tell you, it went wrong with Devonta Freeman.
It sure did. Christine Michael, they grabbed you a good one there. Devonta Booker will be great if CJ goes down, so sure. A decent handcuff because CJ's injury prone. But Jimmy Graham, I mean, why even roster him?
And he's rolling with 3 tight ends on his roster.
It's like Clive Walford.
Like, just hearing his name makes me mad.
We'll move on. I don't think Aditya necessarily deserves as much hate as he who has a bad haircut, but it was a rough go for him. Our last choice, he appeared here last year. He managed to make playoffs, so I don't know what that says about our predictions, but Mason Chu. We thought he had a bad draft last year. I think he had a equally poor draft this year.
One of the things that I just want to point out right away is he drafted a player who is not signed to a team and is not likely going to get signed to a team.
Yeah, why? Ronnie Hillman. I mean, sorry guys, bit of a, hope this is still going. And outside of that, he's got some good picks. David Johnson, I think, will be RB1 by season ends. That guy is a workhorse. He's going to get every freaking touch.
Oh, and he looked great. I saw, according to our friends at ESPN, they had reported that he was on the field for 58 out of 61 of their snaps. Wow. That's opportunity.
Wow. And I'll give him Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is top 3 best fantasy quarterback year in, year out. He produces. He makes things happen. And sure, you got a great backup in Andy Dalton. But outside of that,
Fat Eddie.
I mean, did you see him last season?
we saw what happened last season. Like
Redifus.
Sammy Watkins, Mr. 2 receptions for 20 yards going into the fourth quarter, who claims to be elite, who claims he deserves that OBJ $100 million contract. He's not showing it.
What a question mark. Gosh. And I mean, Coby Fleener, he'll have some good games, but Drew Brees spreads that offense around to his freaking offensive linemen catch balls. They score touchdowns. I mean, he's throwing to everyone. There's no guarantee. I mean, Snead is a safer play than freaking Coby Fleener.
Exactly.
It's Emmanuel Sanders, question mark.
You have Trevor Siemian throwing the ball, who is coming in the league out of college. I don't think he has the arm strength to throw it down the field. Yeah. He likes the safe little check passes. Mm-hmm. And those safe check passes are not going to translate into production. 10 reception, 100-yard games.
They won't. And, it's the Tevin Coleman. I think that's great. I think that right there is what could pull your team out of being the worst draft as we look past week 1.
Mm-hmm. Fuller could be a sneaky pick, too.
Yeah. But that wasn't an original. I mean, that was off waivers this year, wasn't it?
No, he drafted him. But he also drafted Laquan Treadwell, who looks very raw.
And Jay Ajayi, I mean, they left him at home this past week. I get that there was a battle, but obviously it's going to be Arian. And Ronnie Hillman, I still can't. He's still on the roster like he knows something that none of us do. Like he'll get picked up. Well, sorry, we get upset, we get worked up when it comes to these things. We get very disappointed, especially with veterans making these poor decisions and with newbies making these decisions, because it was an honor for them to get added in.
Right, like show some respect to the guys who have been here.
Mm-hmm. It's rough, and we'll move on. So, thankfully, we our not punctual guest speaker today arrived about 30 minutes late, so we are going to bring him on air with a couple of questions and look for a little bit of his analysis on not only the draft, but maybe a little bit about week 1, since we haven't talked much about it.
Yeah, maybe you can give us some life advice, girl advice. I know he's killing it with the ladies, from what I've heard. So, Brandon Underwood, welcome to the studio.
Please step up. We'll
going on with
scoot
the
a bit.
ladies. I wish.
All please welcome, what is it? Danny Morninghead?
Danny Morningwood.
Brandon Underwood, this is your first live outside of a phone call addition here on the team. Welcome, or on the podcast.
Thank you
Welcome.
very
We're happy
much.
to have you. Glad you showed up. I think just to start it off initially, you're outside of your own team, your favorite drafted team, and your least favorite drafted team.
Favorite drafted team, I'm going to have to go with, what?
You can scroll. You can look.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Favorite drafted team,
You are allowed to pick Spock or myself, by the way. Just saying. We've talked about, so you know, Papa Lobo as being our favorite. You, actually.
Who's a team that has no name?
That is Jostin.
I'm not going to lie. I think, Jostin could be pretty deadly, especially when, Le'Veon Bell comes to life, too. I mean, he's the best back in the league hands down. He comes alive. He could be pretty scary. And, as far as I like my team, I don't think I have a flashy team, but
You can't talk about your own team.
Oh, you can't talk about your own team?
Nope.
Okay.
We all think we're the best.
Yeah, that's true. And Bandy's team's pretty strong too.
So who would you say had the most glaring poor performance in our draft this year?
Without a question, Ryan Friedel.
He who has a bad haircut. He hasn't changed his name yet, so we're not.
Yeah, and the reason why I just don't like his team. Not a fan of. I don't buy Des Bryant. First round pick
Romo.
Without Romo. I just don't buy it, and I don't know. Just not a fan of his squad, but.
We definitely we covered a lot about his squad. A lot of questions.
Oh, did you?
It wasn't pretty.
It's rough. It's
Yeah.
rough.
I mean,
Like
and
his
know
hair.
what I'm really glad though this year
What's that?
is that in spite of his bad squad, he is not going to be able to take advantage of the waiver system.
Amen.
Last year his team came alive because he got the first pick of each waiver, and his team finally got amazing. He can't do that anymore. This is the big time leagues.
Amen.
So,
You can't be lazy and you can't succeed. You can't mix those. It's like water and oil.
Exactly.
They do not blend well.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
vinegar, water and vinegar. I think both work.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we love that analysis. I don't think we would agree on the Brandon Friedel pick as a high draft, but to each their own. We all see different things in teams. It's fun. Just as a top draft for you. Just a lot of questions. I think I still believe in Gurley. I think he could be good, but that's beside the point. It's funny that
I just think their team's so bad, though. I don't know.
We'll see. But it's funny that he with a bad haircut is consensus as the worst draft pick. But yeah, moving on. Do we have just a few questions for Brandon?
Yeah, something I want to bring up that makes the league more fun, and that's why we're here. Fun. I know side bets. That's what I want to talk about. Side bets.
Yes.
So I know we had a side bet this week, and I think we may have previously had one in the past.
Yep.
Why don't you just tell the league about it?
Okay, for side bets, it's just kind of, something for fun. You can do a side bet with a person you're playing against. Spock and I just had one. He lost, and I had to create a Facebook post of my choosing. I said, what was it? Something about, what band was it?
Something about Nickelback.
Oh yeah, something about Nickelback.
And
kind of humiliating, but got a lot of likes.
People unfriended me for posting that.
But in spite of that, my college crush liked that, so I'm kind of envious.
Who is that crush?
Allie Hopkins.
Oh.
Why don't you tell us, while we have you on air, tell us the story of how you lost Allie Hopkins.
Okay. For shits and giggles, yeah, it's pretty funny. So I was talking to Allie Hopkins at a college party, and I felt deep down inside that she was into me, and I got super pumped, like, holy shit, I might get with Allie Hopkins. This is my crush. So, because she was feeling it, and I was really pumped, I ended up drinking way more than I should. And
that'll get you.
Yeah, and then next thing I know, I didn't hook up, and I ended up waking up in my own puke. So,
Ooh.
yeah, rough college story.
That's a rough go.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, sorry to hear that, man. I feel for you.
Yeah.
Last, just a moment of silence for the
That was my crush, man.
heartbreak.
Thank you.
We've all been there, guys. Take a moment and appreciate, how that feels, what it's like. It's rough.
All right, so we're getting towards the end of our guest segment, and what we want to do is just give Under with the floor.
I got one question for him first before we do this.
Okay.
You've had success in the regular season.
I have.
Recently.
I have.
You've done well. But
Yes.
you know,
And I'm proud of that, too.
how bad do you have to be to so consistently blow it in the playoffs after such success in the regular season? Is that poor management? Is that your players not playing up to par?
It's a good question. I guess, a little combination of both. My team has been consistently in the past so damn good, and when you're so good, you kind of ease off a little bit. You kind of just I'm gonna win each and every week. And when that happens, you kind of
you get a little cocky.
get a little ahead of yourself. Whatever, I'll just leave them in and still win. And I take more risks. I'm less consistent, so it's just
Sure.
yeah, just because I just feel I don't know.
Well, I could see that happening once. I could see that even happening twice. But we're on 3, 4, 5, I don't even know. Too many times for you to get cocky. You should have learned your lesson by now is the point I'm trying to make. You're like the Bengals, the equivalent of the Bengals.
You get to the playoffs and you get out right away.
I disagree. I'm I would consider myself the Jim Harbaugh of the league. I consistently win NFC championships. I go to the Super Bowl and I barely lose. But overall, my team's dope. And my management's overall great.
I think moral of the story would be you lose nonetheless. And do you have a championship in this league?
I should. Roston had the playoffs in week 17.
Well,
So
we will touch on the issues with our commissioner on another show. That's for sure. That could take up a whole another 45 minutes, I think.
and I would like to conclude that
You have the floor. You have 30 seconds. So tell the league what you want to tell them.
All right. I just want to say, Jay, I saw your Facebook post, and you coming at me a little bit. But you know what? I'm going to stay quiet, and I let my players do the talking. So I'm coming at you this week with everything I have. So, yeah, I'm going to beat you. I'm telling you that straight up.
Camera's here, by the way.
Oh, I thought I was looking at here.
You're all good.
I'm going to beat you straight up, and it's on.
I love that. I love the sense of competition we have in this league.
I was staring at this the whole time.
Yeah, it's all right. Well,
Thanks for being on the show.
we appreciate you coming on the show.
I got one request before you go, and this is for Rawson mainly.
Yeah.
Can you do the Cristiano noise to the camera real quick as you exit? All right, thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate you.
Morning Woodhead.
It's always a pleasure having him on the show. He provides a lot of unique insight. Just an overall good guy. It's a blessing, I would say, to be able to have the kind of guest speakers we have.
Right, and
So shout out to you guys. We appreciate you.
Let's just close up the show because we've been on for a while. I'm sure
For a while.
they're tired of us talking heads just sitting back here.
Last but not least, we forgot last year, and we got a lot of angry emails and a lot of angry phone calls.
We owe some money back.
Yeah, we're being paid to do this, but we want to thank our sponsors, and outside of the paychecks we get from them, we really do appreciate them. We work with good people in the advertising side of things. They're reputable companies, and we appreciate them. First, it's all of our favorites, Miller Lite.
That's the champagne of beer.
The champagne of beer. I know that Miller High Life says they're the champagne of beer, but boys, this right here is better than any craft beer you're going to get, better than any light beer. It may not be a Heineken or Corona, but it's cheaper and it's good.
That's what I order when I go out. Miller Lite, that's what I said.
It's a
Give me a
classic.
cold Miller Lite.
Cold Miller Lite. It's a classic.
Another sponsor that we need to shout out is Patagonia. Fine hiking, climbing, outdoor gear.
As you can see, all three of us were wearing the Patagonia hats.
We were fortunate enough for them to outfit us. So clothing by Patagonia.
Last but not least, I think our number one. They've won us a lot of money, not only through the sponsorship, but being able to compete against people around the nation and beat them in fantasy is the one and only DraftKings.
DraftKings is easy money. So I think they have, if the code you can enter is Spock and Dron, and they'll match your first $200 deposit.
Yeah. I mean, what more can you guys ask for? That's $200 free dollars, only for you to come back and win a couple more thousand. I mean, Well, with that being said, sorry for the late podcast, but we will hope to get another one up earlier next week. Good luck this week, guys. Go get them. Have fun.
Let's get Physique, signing out.